There probably won't be a PlayStation 6, or for that matter, a successor to the Xbox Series X or S. While this may sound completely crazy, it's actually very likely to happen for a few main reasons that I'll unpick in this video. And if you do enjoy, then a like or even a sub would be massively appreciated, but let's get straight into it. We've had a new PlayStation console every 6 or 7 years since 1994, with the latest console, the PlayStation 5, being a huge step forwards in terms of gaming performance. During this time period though, many other technologies have become far more advanced, with consumer grade PCs now cheaper and more powerful than ever. Alright, maybe not cheaper. The threat to the next PlayStation console isn't however consumer PCs, but rather cloud services. If you don't already know, the concept of cloud services is basically the outsourcing of computing power, whereby an application isn't being processed or stored on your device, but rather by a server that could be anywhere in the world, and this technology now works for gaming. Huge companies such as Google and Nvidia already have cloud gaming services, which allow their users to play video games from devices that usually wouldn't be able to run them. The advantages of what is effectively game streaming are already clear too. While the technology is far from perfect, and we'll get onto that later, streaming games is far more convenient than having them run locally on a console or PC that for starters you have to buy and own in the first place. With cloud gaming, all you need is a screen and a device that has Wi-Fi, like a phone, laptop, or even something like a Chromecast or Amazon Fire Stick. With cloud gaming, you also don't have to install a game before you can play it, as the games are already installed on the servers. Think of it a bit like Netflix. This effectively gives instant access to huge libraries of games that you can play even if you don't have a console or PC, as the game is just being sent over Wi-Fi. Now while cloud gaming does sound great, it certainly isn't perfect. For starters, you absolutely need to have an internet connection, even if the game you want to play is technically offline, and considering that around 25 million people in the US do not have access to stable broadband, this is more of a problem than you may think. The quality of your Wi-Fi is also a crucial factor, as while cloud gaming can be pretty much indistinguishable from a typical console or PC gaming experience, you need a really fast, reliable connection with low latency. Even a small amount of latency creates noticeable input delay, because don't forget, every time you click a button, that input has to be sent all the way to the server, which then has to send back the response, even if it's something as simple as just jumping up and down. This would make game streaming far inferior to running locally on a console, especially for competitive games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, or pretty much any racing game, where input delay will put you on the back foot and really just hurt the experience. Game streaming also has compression to deal with, as most large files sent over the internet, such as the game you may be playing, have to be made smaller, basically so they can get to you quicker. This can decrease the visual quality and fidelity of the game, something you don't have to worry about on console. You also have to depend on the performance of the service provider's hardware, which has many of its own benefits and drawbacks, because while you can now leave it to them to upgrade the servers, you have to rely on the service being consistently fast, but also consistently working, because if a game streaming server goes offline, that's the console equivalent of just throwing your PlayStation out the window. Cloud gaming is, however, already gaining momentum, with most of the big companies on board already. Google has Google Stadia, Nvidia has Geforce Now, Microsoft has xCloud, and Sony also have their own service in the form of PlayStation Now. Just the fact that all these companies, especially Xbox and PlayStation, are already providing cloud gaming services is a huge indicator of what's to come, because remember, the next PlayStation console is probably 6 years away, which is a long time for this technology to improve and the companies to build up infrastructure. On the whole though, cloud gaming is already good enough for casual enjoyment, with services like Stadia being reliable enough to run the latest games to a quality that, to be honest, is going to be good enough for a lot of people, providing you have really good internet of course. Does it beat playing on a console though? Well, no, not for now, as the experience is just way too dependent on good network connections and the latency on the service provider's end. However, even with these issues, it's pretty impressive already. The thought of 5G is also really quite promising, because as mobile networks improve their coverage and speed, cloud gaming becomes more and more of a viable option if you're on the go. Mobile data is also getting cheaper, meaning many people now have unlimited access to an internet connection through their phones when they're out and about, and this only adds to the convenience of gaming through the cloud. So now back to PlayStation, because another factor that will drive the move to cloud gaming is console profitability. Sony confirmed that initially the PlayStation 5 was being sold at a loss, which is not unusual for a console, as these companies are clearly making most of their profits from game sales and subscription services. Sony does of course take a cut for every game sold on the PlayStation Store, and that £50 or dollars that most gamers are paying per year for PS Plus or Xbox Live will add up to some serious money. And guess what? The PS Store and PS Plus are the two components that could very easily remain if Sony went to cloud gaming, which only highlights that it will be a very cost-effective move for them and probably Microsoft too. This cost effectiveness is clearly drawing in new companies also, with the announcement that Amazon would give it a go being no surprise to many. Their service, Luna, is currently in early access, and since Amazon actually owns Twitch, this is looking really promising for them. And they're also one of the biggest companies in the world, which is going to help too. The cost effectiveness is also going to bring some real competition into the gaming space. The PlayStation and Xbox brands have become so big that in the last 20 years it's been pretty much impossible to launch a new console. One attempt comes to mind. Cloud gaming will however change this completely, as companies no longer need to develop a console ecosystem and exclusive games to match the experience of another brand. To begin with, at least, cloud gaming will definitely level the playing field between these companies, which is all the better for us, the consumers. More competition means more choice, but also lower prices. Cloud gaming is cheaper to begin with, but as companies try to make their offering more compelling than others, prices will only go down even more. Performance is also likely to improve at a much faster rate. With conventional consoles, they're at the cutting edge on their release, but start to drop behind in the latter stage of their life cycle. This doesn't apply to cloud gaming though, as the company providing the service, whether it be Google or Amazon, will upgrade their hardware to make your experience as good as possible, and this will of course be driven by competition. Overall, cloud gaming is a very promising prospect, which is only really just beginning to take off. It does look like it will be the future, and while it is somewhat of a shame that there may not be another physical PlayStation or Xbox console, the future of gaming is exciting thanks to the cloud. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you have enjoyed it or found it useful, then a like or even a sub would be absolutely amazing. Why not comment where you think the future of gaming will go? I recorded a load more cloud footage which hasn't been used yet, so I'll leave you with some uninterrupted clips of Rocket League being played on Nvidia Geforce now. It stutters a bit due to my Wi-Fi, although as you'll see, it's perfectly playable. But that's everything, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.